little baguettes, welcome to l'Académie Équilibre et aujourd'hui on va faire plus que parfait. So we know this tense is basically the villain in all our stories, but today I'm gonna try to make it super duper easy for you. So the very first thing that you need to understand is the meaning of the tense, okay? If I tell you literally, it means more than perfect. Plus que parfait is more than perfect. And where exactly does this tense go on our timeline? So I'll just give you a timeline over here. Obviously, in the center, we have our present. If we go to the right, it will be our future. And if we go to the left, it is our past. Right? Now, plus que parfait falls in the left category, that is your past. Now, the question is, which kind of past? So, we've already studied passé récent, that is your recent past. Your imparfait, that is your imperfect tense, which is for your incomplete actions or habitual actions. Then we have our beloved passé composé, which is your simple past. Then finally, we have our plus que parfait, which is what we call your past perfect tense in English. Now you'll see this is the furthest in our past, okay? And it comes even before your passé composé. So basically that means this tense, it is used to talk about the actions which were already completed in the past and then another action started. Now I know it's a pretty long sentence, but we'll try to break it down and understand what exactly are we doing in this tense. Okay, so I'll give you an example in English. So if we look at this sentence, you will see two actions. Okay, one is that of the film starting and the other is of me entering the theater. Both are actions of the past. Okay, I'm describing the past. But the question is, which action happened first? The first action here is of the movie starting. And the second action is of me entering the theater. Maybe let's say the movie started at 10 a.m. and I entered at 10:05 maybe. Now both happened in the past. So even when I go in the past, okay, at 10:05 a.m., even for that past, this is still the past. As in, the first action is the past's past. Okay, that means the first action had to complete. The action of starting the movie had to complete in the past in order for my action of entering the theater to start. Okay, so one action in the past ends, okay, as in had started. Okay, that's what we call the past perfect tense in English. Okay, and had started is nothing but your plus que parfait, and entered is nothing but your passé composé, which is why we also call plus que parfait as past past. We use this tense to show that one action ended in the past, then another action started in the past. And in this case, plus que parfait will always be your first action in the sentence, and passé composé will be your second action in the past. So now that if you look at the timeline, you will see plus que parfait talks about your events in the farther past. Okay, even before passé composé actions happened. Now the question is, how do we form it? What is the formation? What is the structure in French, right? Like in English we do, I had done that, right? I had completed my homework. I had gone to the school. Or maybe I had overslept last night, so I woke up early today. Right, so in English the format is had and then the past participle. Same way, how do we do it in French? So in French, it is extremely easy. It is basically a combination of your imparfait and passé composé. Right? We have two more important tenses in the past, that is imparfait and passé composé. You mix both of them, you get plus que parfait. Very easy. How do we do that? So obviously, we'll start with our subject, right? You need a person for the action. Then you're gonna have a helping verb. Okay. Plus que parfait is also a tense that will always have two verbs in it. The first verb will be your helping verb, same as passé composé, that is avoir or être, and then your past participle as in participe du passé, and finally our objet, which is your rest of the sentence, your object. This looks exactly like the formation of passé composé, but then what is the difference? The only difference is you conjugate avoir and être in present tense when it comes to passé composé. Here, we're going to be conjugating avoir or être in imparfait. This is the key difference between plus-que-parfait and your passé composé. So everything will be the same rules, same past participles, all of that will be the exact same. If you know how to do passé composé, if you're clear on how to do imparfait, plus-que-parfait is extremely simple. Okay, I already have a video on imparfait and passé composé. In case you're not clear on that, I would recommend watching that. And once that is crystal clear, this is basically a piece of cake. Okay, starting with a helping verb, I'll just give you the conjugation over here to make things easier for you. So we just conjugate avoir with nous, that is your avant, right? According to the rule, you're going to cut off the ons and then you add your imparfait endings. So it becomes j'avais, J apostrophe, tu avais, il avait, nous avions, vous aviez, and I'll write it over here, il avait. Now, être is the only exception in imparfait, so it becomes j'étais, tu étais, il était, nous étions, vous étiez, and il était. Now that we've gotten our helping verb clear, we come to the participe du passé, as in how do we conjugate that. This is done exactly how we did passé composé, as in the same rules apply, right? So I'll just give you a quick revision. First thing we do is that we have to choose between avoir and être. So all verbs in plus-que-parfait will be conjugated with avoir, except your Dr. Mrs. Van der Trump verbs and pronominal verbs. They will be done with être. So both of these, they go with être as the helping verb. So Dr. Mrs. Van der Trump, that's our acronym, right, for all the verbs that are done with être. Some of us, we also know it as advent rule, right? So it doesn't matter how you know them, you should just know which verbs these are. Alright, then all the pronominal verbs, right, reflexive verbs where the action is done by the subject on himself or herself, those are also done with être. Another thing when we talk about être as a helping verb is that you have to do accordance, which is basically modifying our verb, our past participle, according to the gender and the number of the subject, the person, right? And it happens exactly how we used to do it in Passé Composé. I'll give you an example. I have the verb sortir, right, that is to go out, and it is part of Dr. Mrs. Van der Trump, so we'll conjugate it with être. So I'll just write it over here. So now I'll write être in imparfait, and then I will make the past participle of sortir. It is an IR verb, I'll remove the R, I get sorti, and now I'll do accordance. So if the je is feminine, I'll write sorti with the E, depends on the context. Same with you, it can be masculine and feminine. Then with il, we leave it as it is, but with elle, we will always add a E. With nous, because it is plural, so an S goes. With vous, if it is plural, an S goes. And with il, it will become sorti with an S. And with elle, it becomes sorti with an E and S. So this is an example of how we conjugate in plus-que-parfait. Right, and if we talk about making a past participle with avoir as your helping verb, again same thing happens as passé composé, right? According to your ER, IR and RE verb, we had those steps, right, that we're already aware of. So this was the making of our past participle. Now we've got a small but an important question, that is where to put the pronom, as in the pronouns before your pronominal verb, or for my both students, even our normal pronouns, right, like pronom personnel, COD, COI, whatever it is, where do all of them go, right? Generally the pronoun goes before the verb, but then again here we have two verbs, right, the helping verb and your past participle. So we have one simple statement, that is it will always and always go before the auxiliary verb, as in before avoir or être. And if I talk about specific pronoun, that is pronominal verbs, then we know pronominal verbs are always conjugated with être, so it will go before être. So it will go before that. So we'll just take an example of the verb se coucher to understand better. So here I've got to sleep, It's a pronominal verb, so I'll conjugate être in imparfait. But because there's a prono before it, that means I also have to put the prono in my conjugation. But here I'll put my apostrophe because être will start with a vowel. Finally, I'm going to make my past participle. So coucher is an ER verb. I remove the R, I put an accent on the E, and I get coucher for all of them. And the last step, I'm going to do accordance. Je can be masculine or feminine, so I'll put an extra E. Same for tu. No changes for il. With elle, it will always be coucher with an extra E. With nous, it will always be plural. With vous, it can be plural. And it can also be feminine. And here, there will always be a S. And with elle, again, there will always be an E and an S. As in, I had gone to bed, you had gone to bed, he had gone to bed, and so on. Till here, we mostly discussed theory. Now comes the most important part. That is, how do we use it in a mixed tense exercise? As in, if I have imparfait also, passé composé also, and plus-que-parfait, how do I choose which one goes? So know one thing is that plus-que-parfait will always follow this structure called this happened, then that happened. Or when this happened, that had already happened. Which means you will always have two actions, alright? The first action will already be completed before your second action in the past starts. I'll give you an example. Generally, it is always plus-que-parfait plus passé composé, where the first action will be plus-que-parfait and second will be a passé composé. So your sentence order can be changed as in passé composé then plus-que-parfait, but plus-que-parfait will always happen first. So for instance, I have two examples over here. So in the first one, you will see there are two actions, right? One is arriving at the cinema and another is of that of the film starting. Okay, so here, this follows the format of when this happened, that had already happened. Okay, whenever you see deja before a blank, right, that means something had already happened, right? That is a very strong indicator of your plus-que-parfait tense. Okay, that means here the film had already started when I arrived at the cinema. So first one will be passé composé. Arrivé is part of Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp, so I get je suis arrivé. This is my second action. The first action was of the film starting. So this will be commencer, will be done with avoir. Le film, it will be avait déjà commencé. Same way, if you look at the second one, right, you have two strong indications. One is ce matin, this morning, and another one is hier, yesterday. What happened before? Obviously, yesterday comes before today, right? This means this will be the first action, and first action is always plus-que-parfait. And another help given to you is that this action is already conjugated in passé composé. So it means he called me this morning because he had not seen me in class yesterday. Okay, so the action of him not seeing me in class yesterday was the first thing that happened, and only then he called me today. So with il, I will conjugate. It will be done with avoir. So with il, it becomes ave. And then voir is an exception, so it becomes vu. This is exactly how you do mixed tenses when plus-que-parfait is present. You will have two actions. First action, plus-que-parfait. Second action, passé composé. And some hints will be given to you, right? Some indications that will tell you which action happened first. I'll write a few of the indications here for you. Make sure you pause the video and note them down. Okay? So we already saw one indication. Very strong one is déjà, as in already. And this goes between your helping verb and your past participle and tells you that the action is plus-que-parfait. Then we have quand, which means when. As in when this happened, that had already happened. Then we've got dès que, as in as soon as. As in one thing happened and then immediately after that another thing happened in the past. For example, he had left as soon as I arrived. Right? So the action of him leaving happened first, it got over, and just after that, immediately after that, I arrived, which is your second action. Then next one is aussitôt que. This also has the same vibe as dekha. It is just a bit more, you can say, fancier. As in, we had finished the homework immediately after the teacher entered, right? And then you might have lorsque, which also means when. Alright, so with this, we close our plus-que-parfait tense. Alright, I hope the entire thing is clear to you. If you've got any doubts, any video requests, feel free to comment down below. Thank you.